Hi all. Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. Okay, first of all, we're going to be covering some of your comments about some of the stories that I've been putting out. You guys have been really vocal and, forward in what you think about a lot of the stuff that's being reported. Then we have some stories that we're going to cover. And of course, you know me, I've got my video and photographic proof of my thought processes. So let's just get right to it, shall we? Let's jump in. Let's go. So to start off this morning, we're going with a quote from Cindy Crawford that Meghan Markle plagiarized. I showed you that in another video. But the quote says the following: "If we treated ourselves as well as we treated our best friends, can you imagine?" And let's not forget that they put that up right after they posted this, that people were angry that the wrong old white woman died. Good way to treat people. And I also showed you this gem that was put up by somebody who helps run the Sussex Squad podcast. Right. Good way to treat other people again. I'm sure you all remember I showed you this young lady, I'm not even going to mention her name, who put up the following tweet. Again, showing love to other people. Gail Knight said that she was glad the newspapers picked this up and running with it. It's disgusting, and the woman that said it needs to be sacked from Vogue. Well, that goes without saying. And the fact that Harry is not saying anything about it proves how spineless he is. Well, we already knew that too. Whew. When I showed you guys how they were trending the Prince William affair thing because they really don't have anything on William, so they're trying to attack his character, E. Manning said it best. How empty and bored does one have to be to follow orders from people you've never met, to post lies about people you've never met? Spot on, my friend. And finally, this comment from Patricia Longworth on Twitter really just struck me, because what she wrote resonates with everybody, I think. How the hell could they do this to the Queen? What the hell does a 95-year-old who just lost her husband feel about all of this? And she pointed out, rightfully so, that the Queen has the right, after all these years of service, to end her days with dignity. And that's why I think it resonates, because I think that's absolutely true. The Queen has worked her whole life. She's coming into the last bit of it. She should be able to have peace and quiet and dignity and respect. And instead she's being attacked, and that's completely Harry's fault. Time to move on now to our stories of the day. Do you guys remember when this story came out and Meghan went on TV while she stood in the middle of one of the poorest areas of Africa as she was on a royal tour where they had rolled out the red carpet for her and she had the best of everything? Do you guys remember when she said this?
Yeah, well, I guess, and also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay, but it's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes.
Now, these pictures that you guys are looking at were all taken on the same tour. She looks perfectly happy and fine. And no, it's not her acting skills, because we know she can't really act. So that's not what's going on. It's part of her victim narrative, which we have discussed before. Do you guys remember this?
In her own way, she's portrayed herself as a victim of the royal family. She wanted to portray herself as a victim from the start. She was always craving rejection. She was craving rejection so that she could say to Harry, listen, our life is unbearable here. And there's only one answer, and that's to leave the country and go and live in the United States. It's part of a narrative that she likes to perpetuate, that they, as an institution, are attacking her.
We know that after the interview, when they went home, Kate and Sophie decided that they were going to reach out to Meghan. And she totally rebuffed them, because after all, if she accepted their help, that would get rid of her narrative that she was pushing, that she's a victim, Harry, we got to get out of here. So yeah, she rebuffed them, of course. Okay, moving on. Okay, next story. It's coming out now that Harry and Meghan are not keen on their mansion, the one they've been living in for 18 months that they bought for $11 million. And now they've put out discreet inquiries that they're looking for another house. And people are going, wait a minute, They love this house. It's on 7.5 acres. It's private. They have, fancy neighbors. It's gated. What's going on? So when the story comes out that they aren't over the moon about their house, the one that they've been gushing about all this time, people are going, what's happening? And I did a previous video about the upkeep and the maintenance on this house and what it was going to take to run this house. And I think that might be part of the problem. Let's not forget that Harry is worth $30 million, but they had to plunk millions down on the house, okay? Then they purchased this house. The mortgage they took out was $7.25 million. So the mortgage is about $30,000 a month or $360,000 a year over 30 years. So then you have the other stuff. For instance, domestic staff, $311,000 a year. You have $102,000 for landscaping and keeping everything looking pretty. It costs close to $11,000 a month for maintenance costs on these homes. Add in the cost of butlers, a chef, housekeepers, gardeners, pool staff, personal assistants, and a chauffeur, and you're looking at another $750,000 a year. Utility bills, power, water, cable, etc. are close to $4,000 a month. And of course, you have to take into account Meghan's wardrobe. I mean, it's the amount of money it takes to run this house is astronomical, and the truth is Harry and Meghan are living well above their means. Even with $30,000, they don't have that kind of money. They want to live royal, but they don't have the money for it, and that's the truth. Then finally, you get to what's really going on. Archewell is not doing well. They were expecting to set it up and it be like the Clintons, who got millions upon millions upon millions. But in 2020, Archewell only brought in $50,000. They were expecting the donations to come in, and that was who was going to pay the bills, but it just didn't work out that way for them. Remember, they get to keep 95% of the donations, so if it had worked out like the Clintons and they got $10 million, that would have paid for everything. I believe there are 3 other reasons why they want out of that house, and the first one has to do with Tyler Perry. Do you all remember this?
Because we know that after they left the UK, they went to stay with friends, let's call them, in Los Angeles, who then kicked them out because they were so rude to their staff. Because this is the problem with social climbers that want to put themselves above other people. It's disgusting behavior to bully people who are working for you or under you. You can always tell how good a person's character is by how they treat people who are under them on the hierarchy.
So my first thought is they bought the house because they were in a rush because Tyler Perry threw them out of his house and they needed someplace fast to go, and so they bought this house on the fly. The other thing is the Netflix and Spotify deals. Spotify did not hand these people $30 million. They gave them just a small amount to produce podcasts. They produced nothing, so they're not getting paid. And it's the same thing with Netflix. They may have signed a contract that may be worth a certain amount of money, but so far, in almost 2 years, they've produced nothing. And what little bit of money they are getting is being used for the production of these, the Pearl and in the Invictus games. And so the money is drying up. My third thought process is they bought a house near Oprah, and their relationship with Oprah seems to be completely over. So they don't feel anymore like they're surrounded by friends, and they're not interested in the regular folk who live there, only the stars. So now they want out. All right, moving on to our next story. It's being reported that Harry and Meghan are sending Archie to a nursery school that specifically teaches about kindness and emotional literacy. And all I can say is, thank God, because I don't think that child would have learned those things at home. It's being reported that Harry is the one who drops the baby off and picks him up, which I can see because Meghan does not come off as being maternal. We've already discussed that in previous videos. One of the parents said that the children don't know his parents are royalty and probably wouldn't care. Yeah, why would you bother to tell a bunch of 2-year-olds that somebody's parents are royalty? No, they're not going to care. Most of the adults don't care. All I can say is at least they were smart enough to enroll their child in a school that will teach the values that they are incapable of teaching on their own. I'll give them kudos for that. All right, moving on. We all know how Harry and Meghan value their privacy. Yes, privacy and they don't like these stories coming out about them. They're only going to work with grassroots journalists. Remember all that crap? And we also know that a lot of the stories that are coming out are from their friends. And we also know that Meghan and Harry would not allow these friends to talk without their permission. But it keeps backfiring on them, like the wreath for Philip's funeral that Meghan had a friend talk about to the staff. And, when it came out that Meghan said she wasn't going to stop the Oprah interview because the palace was trying to muzzle her using Philip's illness, that all came out from her unnamed friends. Well, I think they're going to try to stop that now. So essentially, they're not going to use their friends to drip feed us these ridiculous, stupid stories. What they're going to do now is have people at Archewell specifically speak out on any stories. I love what this Twitter user said, because essentially they confirmed that the unnamed sources were speaking on their behalf and were under their control as they tried to control the narrative. With that being said, I'm sure that only applies to the negative stories. I'm sure if positive stories come out, they won't say anything. So if their friends want to drip feed us positivity, I'm sure Harry and Meghan will not say, that didn't come from us, so it's not true. That's only going to apply to negative stories. Essentially, they're trying to control the narrative again. Yeah, whatever. All right, moving on. Next story that came out said that Meghan and Harry are expected to return to the UK in the spring because they're still working on the Invictus Games. Personally, I have to wonder, at some point Netflix is going to have to say enough. You're not producing anything. I'm just waiting for that to happen. And yet at the same time, they're keeping their diary open and free so that they'll be available for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee when they get an invite. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Meghan is not going to go. She's not going to let those children back in the UK. The royal family is not going to allow any photo ops with the working members. Harry will not be on the balcony. They're not going to want to go. I personally think that the king and queen of misinformation, who have been proven to spread lies and proven in a court of law, ought to just give it up by this point. It's getting pretty old. Finally, the last story we're going to look at today is this article that says that Harry and Meghan's popularity is unraveling while William's and Kate's have skyrocketed. Is anybody surprised by this? They've trashed the Queen, they've trashed Charles, they've called them racist, they've said horrible things about them, they slammed the Commonwealth. I mean, the only person who's lower than Meghan is Prince Andrew. And before anybody says that that's just in the UK, that's absolutely not true. If you take a look at some of the articles that are coming out in Germany and Paris and Italy, I've shown you some of them, their popularity is plummeting around the world. Yes, it is. Not a surprise. By the way, the Sussex squad keeps saying that William is going bald because his hair is falling out as he cheats on his wife. If that were true, Harry is actually more bald than William. Just saying. So I want your comments. What do you think about Harry and Meghan wanting to sell their house, and why do you think they're moving? What do you think about the quote-unquote unnamed sources no longer being able to speak on their behalf? Do you think that Harry and Meghan will actually get an invitation to the Jubilee? I think they will, because the Queen won't want to look petty, but I don't think they're going to go. But what do you guys think? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future uploads. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Gab. You can email me. To those who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.